Good evening. I'm Tom Conrad, the Superintendent of Schools for the Nauset District, and welcome to Superintendent's Spotlight, a half-hour show dedicated to programs and people here in the Nauset District. And tonight, we're moving away from the central office for a couple of weeks and introducing you to very, very interesting people in some of our buildings. And tonight's guest is Mr. Bill Crosby. And Bill, it's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me tonight, Tom. Appreciate it.
Bill's a brand new principal for us in East Ham Elementary. And I'm pleased to tell you he's doing a fantastic job for us. But tonight we got a chance to get to know him a little bit better and hear on some of the things that he's trying to do at East Ham Elementary. So, Bill, where'd you come from?
Oh, Tom, I appreciate this opportunity. And let's see. I've lived on the Cape, believe it or not, for almost 40 years. And so I grew up in Harwich, played hockey for Harwich. Nauset was obviously...
Not one of those.
Yeah, actually, back in the Rough Rider days, yeah, for sure. And so Nauset, was definitely a rival of ours, so I had some heated battles with the Warriors. So I went to Harwich High School and ended up getting married and settling on the Cape. Kind of going back to school later in life, I was encouraged by one of my professors to go into elementary education. They thought I'd be great at it. I said, sure. I love working with kids, and I felt almost a calling to do that, and started working in Sandwich about 20 years ago, and spent just a wonderful career there in Sandwich in 4th grade, and it very rewarding. 20 years of my life, and built great relationships there. Enjoyed teaching, and one of my administrators was encouraging me. He thought, that I would be good if, as an administrator going into that role, and so I thought I'd give it a shot.
Wow.
And I got my license. Still torn between staying a teacher and making the move to the, what some people call the dark side, leaving the classroom, the comfort of the classroom. But, and I applied to some positions on the Cape, but nothing seemed to open up. And I feel a lot of times that doors close for a reason. And all of a sudden last year, this position in East Ham opened up, and I said, I'll give it a shot again. And it's the beginning of the story. Yeah, here I am.
Well, I'll tell you, we're glad you're here, Bill.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I'm
Thanks.
telling you, I've heard nothing but great things about your first few months with us. And
Thanks.
And you, in your experience in Sandwich, you're in a bigger elementary school than what you are currently.
Right, Tom. Yeah, when I started in Sandwich in '95, there were 3 K-8 buildings in Sandwich, and when Sandwich's population exploded during the the late '90s, the building I was in was over 1,000 children from K-8. Yeah, and which was a great experience. We really enjoyed it. And I also being an athlete and enjoy athletics. I was I taught 4th grade, but then I coached the 7th and 8th grade sports there. Soccer and basketball and baseball. And that gave me another opportunity to reconnect with kids that I had in 4th grade, in kind of a different role. So I really enjoyed that.
And class sizes must have been...
Yeah, there was one year during that period of time where I had a class of 28, in 4th grade. Typically, between 20 and 25, most of my career. With a school, that large, obviously, budget concerns are always an issue. And so, we would go through periods of time with, with cuts and things that happen. But I think you just adjust, whatever's, given to you that particular year, you adjust to that and, make those kids your own.
So, over your years in the classroom, it's given you a chance to see all the major changes, particularly around testing from a teacher's perspective.
Right.
And that must be of some advantage to you in this role.
No, absolutely. And coming out of the classroom, to be quite honest with you, it's been helpful to be able to relate really to the pressures of what teachers are feeling, because you have really no control over the variables of the children in front of you, and so you feel the pressure of high stakes testing with those kids, but then on the other hand, you see them as young children, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, with the pressures of testing. And so you're torn a lot of times as an educator, because what's really important is for you to build trust and relationships with those kids so that they come to wanting to come to school. Because very little learning is going to happen if those children don't enjoy walking through the door of your classroom. So that's helped me, I think, to be a little bit more sensitive and empathetic, I think, to the pressures on the classroom teacher right now.
Yeah. You also have some background. You're a parent and you have a family and so forth.
Right.
And,
Absolutely. Yeah. I've been married over 30 years and have 3 children. My oldest son is Evan. He's 28 and he's married, and I have a little granddaughter named Finley. She's 3 years old.
You seem too young to be a grandparent.
Yeah, thanks. And it was nice. I spoke with my son yesterday, and and you can relate to this as well. But going through the time when they were young, and he was just talking about people talk about terrible twos. I'm telling you, Dad, she's 3 years old and just running me ragged, and I said, yeah, that's payback, son, so he's enjoying himself. I have a daughter also who's 26 years old. She's living on the Cape, and then I have an 18-year-old son named Ian. My daughter name is Caitlin. Yeah. And so we live in Yarmouthport. My wife is a DY girl, kind of born and raised on the Cape, and so we made a home for ourselves on Cape Cod. And I feel a strong connection. As I said, I've lived on the Cape for 40 years, so I think I can connect really with the people here on Cape Cod. I suppose I'd be considered a wash ashore, so because I was 12 when I moved to Cape Cod, but I feel that I'm a Cape Codder, true and true.
It's amazing. Just getting ready to do the show, I wasn't familiar with your background with the Cape. Because you've seen a lot of change on the Cape during your time here since 12 years old. And that's part of understanding what we're trying to do in our schools. One of the issues, of course, that I'm looking at from my role as a superintendent is declining enrollments in general across the Cape and rising budgets. And you've seen that firsthand in your experience at Sandwich, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Sandwich is also, they've closed a school recently. Yarmouth, they've closed schools. And obviously the Lower Cape has changed dramatically as well. So yes, that's definitely an issue on the Cape. But I think it's something that we can, face, rise to that, to the challenge of that, and to create an atmosphere. I'm just looking at Eastham Elementary right now, and what a wonderful, model it is for teaching. When I first came from Sandwich, I was thinking about, I'm used to 25 kids in a class, and the pressures of that, and very little support, in a large district like that. And then coming here and seeing what has been, created partially because of reduced enrollment, and partially because people realize that small class sizes are extremely beneficial, for the kids and the support that can be provided for them. And so, it's been a pleasant surprise because to be honest with you, I feel strongly that this is really the way teaching should be. There are children that present some serious social emotional needs that in this particular atmosphere, there's so much support in place that those needs we're able to work to meet those needs and to help really affect change in those children. Because I think about those same children in a larger district like Sandwich, let's say, or Barnstable, not to say that they wouldn't be supported there, but they wouldn't have the same sort of nurturing and support that we're able to give in a setting like this, in Eastham. So
the interesting piece is that for me, traveling the district in the fall to all the open houses, the sort of community and family feel that I got from that evening in your building. And that's important to you, isn't it?
No, absolutely. And the longer I've been, I've just obviously started in July, so this is my first fall. And you try to gain perspective on what what is the culture here? What is the community, and what does, and what is the role of this school, in Eastham? And, and I really feel that it, again, we have the iconic symbols of the windmill in the center of town, but then I'm also struck by the lighthouse. And I feel strongly that just in the short time that I've been here, that Eastham Elementary is almost like that beacon in a sense, you know what I mean, that a place where the community can come, you know, for support. You know, I feel that a lot of the staff, and just to create that atmosphere of trust, that when parents and children, they have needs, they walk through that door, it's a place where they can be supported, you know what I mean, where their needs can be met, not only educationally, but, you know, socially, emotionally, and even, you know, meeting needs as far as, you know, financially at some level, as far as, you know, food and clothing for some people. I just really feel that that school is a valuable community resource that people can have many needs met.
And hearing you speak, it reminds me of the school, in a perfect setting would be the hub of the wheel. And all these spokes come off of related to the school's importance and position and representing the needs of both families and students.
Yeah, I feel strongly about that. I want people to be able to, you know, the community members, the families, the children, you know, when they walk through those doors, that this is a place where they feel supported and nurtured and comforted, in a place that, you know, at some level, an extension of their home. And that they're happy to be there every day, knowing that there's people that care for them.
You have a great fondness for students, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
and I heard a story of a student this fall who was nervous about riding a bus early in the year, and if I have it right, you got on the bus with a student.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me about that.
You know, just there's, you know how the beginning of the year, the transition for young kids, and I've actually taken a page out of your book, to be honest with you, the riding, you know, I'd heard that you know, took rides on the school buses and things, and I thought, you know, as an educator, as a fourth grade teacher, you don't really have that opportunity, you know, because you're the classroom teacher, you're waiting for the kids to get off the bus, and then you're putting them on at the end of the day. And so, you know, the anxiety of the beginning of school and riding the bus maybe for the first time, I said, you know, I'm free. You know, I can hop on that bus and go for a ride. And so, yeah, definitely got that child home safely that day. But then I was inspired to continue that. Yeah. And so I continued to, you know, to ride the bus. And as familiar as I am with Eastham, having grown up here and obviously taking advantage of the beaches and things, I really didn't know the neighborhoods, you know, of Eastham. And so that gave me an opportunity to see where my students live, to see their parents picking them up off the bus, and also a newfound appreciation really for driving a bus.
It is amazing,
yes,
isn't
no,
it?
absolutely. To see, you know, first of all, just to keep that big bus on the road without 50 kids behind you, you know, moving around and talking or whatever. So definitely a newfound appreciation for what those people do every day.
And I'm sure the bus drivers gained a great deal of respect for you in showing interest in knowing what they represent.
Yeah, the kids are still asking me, you know, would you ride the bus with me today? You know what I mean? So I definitely have to get back into that, you know, doing that again. So.
But beyond just this one situation we're talking about, you've really tried to get out and into the classrooms a great deal, and even recesses and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. I you know, really, my entry plan really was to work to build relationships. That was my priority, you know, obviously with the staff, you know, with the families and with the children, and also really enjoying the classroom, you know. So there's part of me, that transition of being out of the classroom, I found, you know, and I asked the teachers, can I come in? I love to read. And so I spent, you know, the first, I still go into classrooms and read. You know, and I've been in every classroom several times to do read alouds, and it just gives you a nice connection with the kids, to be able to interact, for them to see you, you know, as an educator, because I still feel, you know, that I'm an educator, and that's one of my priorities, and so that gives me an opportunity to build relationships with kids in a smaller class setting. And then, and before school, the kids are dropped off at Eastham. We have a 15-minute recess before the first bell rings, before they go into class. And so I've made a point of, you know, greeting the kids and being a part of recess every morning. It just gives me an opportunity to connect with them outside. And the whole student body is there in the morning. So it's nice. I can bounce around from kindergarten, first grade. And of course, they they make you feel so loved. You know, it's tough sometimes because I have 3 or 4 kids, you know, hugging me, and you know, I'm trying to walk, and you know, saying, you know, it just won't let go. You know, and it's like, oh, so I've got to go talk, and so. But anyway, you know, where can you go and feel, you know, so appreciated and loved like that? Then, you know, kindergarten, 1st or 2nd grade. But more recently, just trying to, you know, bridge some relationships between children that socially, and I think sometimes a small school or a small class size, you're limited socially sometimes. And so just trying to help a couple of kids to kind of build other relationships. We started, you know, my background is hockey, so I started some street hockey games going on at recess between some 4th graders and 5th graders and things. So that's been fun. Most of the teachers just think I'm out there just because I want to be out there playing hockey, but you know, there is a reason for it.
Yeah, you know, the interesting piece is that it's a two-way street, and we know the trials and tribulations of raising our own children and the experiences that we have in our classrooms and our schools every day.
Absolutely.
That at times they need security. They need to feel safe. They need to know that someone cares about them.
Absolutely.
And quite honestly, it's refreshing to me, being the superintendent, to see how much you value this, because unfortunately we don't see enough of it in our schools in the state and across this country. And you either have it or you don't. I think that it's a value that's tough to teach, and it's something from within.
Yeah, I agree with
and because I know your door's always open. I mean, kids.
Absolutely.
That's an important piece for you, right?
And Tom, you know, moving in transitioning from the classroom to administration, you know, I feel this comes, as you said, it does come naturally for me, that part of it, you know, the relationship part of it, the people part of it. And as you always say, just treat people the way you want to be treated, and I feel that definitely comes from within. But then again, you know, the administrative piece, there's a lot that I'm learning, you know, the whole, you know, the budget process and leadership, and, you know, there's a lot of room for growth, you know, as far as I'm concerned in that, in this role. And I think I, you know, hopefully laid somewhat of a foundation, and then I can, you know, give myself to learning and growing more, you know, as an administrator, as an educational leader, really. And
you've worked at that. You've taken some courses.
No, absolutely.
I believe you did some work this summer and into the fall.
Absolutely, right.
What were you studying?
We took a course on you know, this whole evaluation process, you know, that the state has mandated the last couple of years. You've been involved in it. So it was a course which was very valuable, actually. It was excellent on really what to look for in the classroom and how to evaluate. And what I really took away from it, to be honest with you, is not so much you know, the separation between administrator and teacher, that kind of gotcha type relationship, you know, where the principal's walking in, you know, looking to make corrections, but more which I really feel the evaluation process is going, is that the principal or the administrator is moving alongside the teacher, and this is something that we're working on together. Because to be quite honest with you, most teachers, you know, want some honest feedback. You know, we all want to grow. We all want to learn, and as you've said before too, you know, we have strengths and we have weaknesses, and so, but it's creating a relationship with those educators that they feel that it's okay, you know, to show their weaknesses, and that they understand, and that you understand, that teaching can be very messy, you know, and that if we can just come together, talk about, you know, hey, what went well, what didn't go well, and to have that kind of relationship to try to bring improvement in all of us.
Of course.
So, yeah.
The interesting thing, of course, is no day is the same, and every class is different. And with that comes the ability for you to begin to mold what you would like to see happening in the classrooms, and also have people come with you. I mean, I think when we look at change and we look at making adjustments and so forth, we truly need to have the teachers come with us, because they really deliver the product.
Right.
And they're in their classrooms a great deal of the time by themselves.
They are. And I think that's, you know, I'm trying to lay the foundation of just relationship, you know, and building trust, you know, that they trust me, you know, that when, you know, we may have those difficult conversations or, but, you know, let me just back up for just a second. To be quite honest with you, I've been so pleasantly surprised with the staff at Eastham Elementary. They are, you know, as I said, I've been in Sandwich for 20 years. And so again, I'm in my classroom by myself. I know my colleagues, but I don't really know what's going on in other school districts and other towns.
Sure.
And so to come here, I've just been so impressed, really, with the staff in Eastham. I mean, just how passionate they are, how professional they are, and really focused on student achievement, but not just student achievement, but really on relationships with those kids and understanding, what their needs are, social, emotional. There's just some great people in that building that really, really care about kids.
Great teachers make great schools.
No, absolutely. And I've walked in, I'm telling you, to just a situation that I couldn't ask any more of. I'm just, they've been fantastic and very talented educators.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just to wrap up that discussion on the open door policy, it appears to me that any parent or student or teacher, as long as it fits into your schedule, you're more than willing to meet with them. And you have that open door policy in general.
Absolutely.
And I think that that extends into the after school programs. You've been very active in attending meetings and the after school program itself and so forth, to bring respect to all the work that other people are doing.
No, absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
Technology, and every building is in a different spot with technology. I know that you've had a lot of conversations with our technology teacher and librarian and so forth. How is that going so far? Are we making some progress?
Again, I'm fortunate to come, into a situation where, initially it's the infrastructure, and that's in place. The infrastructure's there. We're going to make a move to, bring some more technology in next year. And so everything's in place. It's a matter of providing some professional development. There's a lot of teachers that are, anxious to move forward, just kind of need a little bit more equipment, and we're going to meet those needs. And then there are others that, need some instruction, need some professional development. And so I feel great, really, about where the school is right now, and that it's ready, to continue to move forward, bringing kids into the 21st century, as far as technology is concerned. So I feel really great, really, where Eastham is right now.
Because you were involved, the school was involved, you weren't here last year, but we were involved in the park exam, weren't we?
Yes, absolutely. And from what I understand, Eastham performed very well.
Yeah, the scores were excellent.
They did very well, which is a tribute, obviously, to the kids and to the preparation of the teachers. But also, they love taking it on the computer.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
And because of the size of the school, we were able to do that.
Right.
To allow the entire. Because I know some districts, they're so large, they don't have the number of computers that it would take to be able to take it online. So from what I understand from the teachers and the kids, the experience was great.
So for our viewers, because we're trying to give them some insight into that's where we're going in the future. I mean, at all of our buildings.
No, absolutely.
But Eastham was one of the schools in the district that volunteered to try out that park, and so by all accounts, the results were excellent, and they got an opportunity to do it on a computer, unlike the MCAS. Absolutely. And that was very favorable.
Absolutely. And we'll be doing it again this year.
That's what we're moving to. In your switch from the teacher to the principal role and so forth, any surprises along the way that it was something you didn't quite anticipate, or positively? Or
yeah, Tom, I will admit, and we've known each other for a short time, but I'm fairly honest with the way I'm feeling and my anxiety, and about just something new, brand new.
Right.
And I'm sure we've all felt this at some level, going into a brand new position. Right. So coming from I was nervous for sure, leaving the classroom, the comfort of friendships that you had for 20 years and moving to a complete strange place at this point in my life and not knowing anyone, and all of a sudden, there's not an assistant principal, I'm the only person. And to be honest with you, the surprise is how much I'm enjoying it. Wow. That's been really the greatest surprise. It's just how much I'm enjoying it. That I come from Yarmouthport, so I'm driving down the highway every day, and I would say one of the first times, in I wouldn't say my life, but it's just been a fantastic change. I'm just smiling on my way to work every day. seriously. So I would think that's been the greatest surprise.
How much you've
How much
enjoyed
I've
it.
enjoyed it, and I just appreciate this opportunity.
It's interesting, Bill, as you say that, because I often speak to finding one's passion. As my wife and I raised our two children,
Right.
we would talk about their futures, and
Right.
and sometimes I think they wanted us to tell them what it was they should be chasing. And we often always would say to them, find your passion.
Right.
And if you find your passion and you make enough money to pay the bills,
Right.
you're going to be a lucky person.
Right.
And because there's something to be said for getting up. I've noticed in these jobs over the years that it's rare for both of us, I think, to look at the clock and say, I want more time.
Right.
It's never, when am I going to
Right.
get out of here for the day?
No, right.
And I sense that's where you're at
that's
this
what
point.
I feel that, and I hadn't felt it, to be honest with you. As much as I loved the classroom, there was something missing. I needed to change, and it's it's interesting as we all go through the new year, and people think about resolutions, and you talk about that word, passion, and my wife and I were kind of came across a challenge, and that was to find one word. What is that one word that you really want to focus on in your life for this particular year? And this was way before, the Eastham position had been posted or anything, and we came up with that word passion. I came up with passion. I think her word was purpose. And so the two of us together, it was passion and purpose. And so, you know what I mean? So this all unfolded, and it was like, wow, this has become definitely the passion. This was it for last year,
Yeah. Well, it certainly shows.
Yeah.
And,
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
It's just great to be around you. Your contributions at the administrative team meetings have been just outstanding, and so there's no question you're off to a great start.
Thanks.
Any goals that you've been thinking about as you begin to look at moving the school forward? I know that you've mentioned technology. We all
Sure.
recognize
We have
that
that as a goal.
That's a big issue for all of our schools going forward and so forth. We got to transition to a new test eventually coming up and so forth.
Absolutely.
And it seems to me making sure that services for all kids and I was so glad to hear that discussion here on the show about every student has great value for us, and making sure that their social and emotional needs are met at times.
I would say that's my goal, Tom. Really, as everything else you know what I mean. As as that unfolds, and as we you continue to meet the challenges that are presented before us, whether it be social emotional needs or academic needs or high stake testings. That again, that's our goal. That's our foundation. Is that Eastham Elementary is that place that no matter what's going on, that's a place where kids come in, they feel secure, they feel comforted, they feel that people are listening to them and care for them. And I think that's the beginning of seeing growth and seeing change in those kids' lives.
Well, I got bad news. Yeah. We're almost done. And what a wonderful way to finish the show in terms of the foundation you're trying to set in place for every single student and everybody that works at Eastham Elementary.
Right.
So I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight,
Thanks
Bill.
for having me.
And
I appreciate it.
And I want to thank you for everything you're doing for the students of our district. And I look forward to talking more on another show, possibly.
Great. Sounds good.
All right,
Thank you very
thanks so
much.
much, Bill.
Thanks.
And to our viewers, some great insight into a great new principal here at Eastham Elementary, Mr. Crosby. And I want to thank you for watching the show this evening, and I look forward to more shows in the future. Thank you, and good night.